Oh, it is really loudly in my ears.
It really lets you know.
That's good, privacy and all that.
Yeah. Well, Russell, Tyndall of Vowls and other all kinds of different fame, thank you very much for being on the show. I'm excited to
Oh
have you
yeah,
here.
yeah.
How
I'm
does this
excited to
date
be here.
find you?
It's been a long week. I've been working a lot. Also, I played a lot of Zelda this week because my kid's very into it right now, and we're trying to get along with that.
Is that Breath of the Wild or is that the newer one?
Breath of the Wild. I don't even know if there is a newer one.
Oh, I thought there was. I'm not really up on that, so I don't really know.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's cool. Really like wide open, expansive, open world Zelda. I get is what I gather.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You just like run around and catch bugs and smite bad guys and solve puzzles. It's like the same thing but bigger and in more directions.
Right, right, exactly. That sounds cool. Well, how is your guys' new album coming?
Well, we have 5 tracks in the can ready to go to mixing and automation and all that kind of stuff. We have another 5 tracks ready to record here in 2 or 3 weeks when everybody's schedule coalesces into a single thing. And it feels good. The last 5 tracks, 8 tracks, 6 tracks, whatever it is going to be kind of funky because it's like newer stuff that we've not gotten a chance to play out live a lot. Um, most of the Vowels songs get played out a lot of times historically before we put them on an album. So it'll be interesting to have like a third of this album is just sort of unreleased material, stuff that doesn't, I don't want to say it doesn't work live, but it's not in our wheelhouse live yet.
That's super interesting. Is it like a different vibe stylistically?
Well, it's like we're 5 different songwriters and all of us have very varied taste and move around a lot. And so it's just more stuff that we haven't worked on together. And when it's like you bring something that I wrote for an acoustic bass into a room with 6 other instruments, you're like, okay, well, what should it be doing now that it's not entirely played on an acoustic bass guitar? It should be played on, we're like, how do we rearrange the songs and get the feeling to come across better with more of the rest of everyone?
That is really interesting. I have a nerdy specific technical question about that
Yeah, yeah.
process because I know from watching you play that you think of a chord when you're accompanying your own singing from starting from kind of this middle range of the bass, and then you usually have like, okay, say you're on the root note, you've got like a nice third up, a nice fifth down, and then sometimes
Yeah, yeah.
depending on what chord you're on, if you're all the way up on one of the higher strings, you've got like the low octave, but you don't necessarily start at the low octave. And I hear you a lot of the time fleshing out the chord with that third and that fifth. So
Yeah,
the
definitely.
the question
That's my
is,
approach.
okay, nice, awesome. I'm glad I wasn't far off. So, do you, when you bring it to the band, do you drop it down to the root note, or like as a rule, what do you do?
Well, so when I'm teaching it to the band, we play it at like 2/3 speed from what people are used to hearing me sing, which is more in the middle. But then when it's like we're working out the arrangement after everybody knows where the chords go and where the drops happen and the climaxes occur, we're like, okay, I'm going to play this note and hold it. And you need to do some of the things that evoke the feelings of where I was at when I was playing all this mid range stuff.
Right.
And so there's a back and forth about it needs to sound a certain way to get what I was feeling across. But at the same time, I'm not playing 4 other instruments any given time. So yeah, there's definitely I need to put the note lower in the register, or instead of going up to the third, just hang out there on that root and go down to the fifth a couple times and let somebody else carry out the rest of the harmonic space. Um, one of the ones we're doing right now is in kind of like 6/8, 12/8 time, depending on the part of the song. A lot of those triplets, and we're trying to get it like free time spaced. It's like I'll play the first beat of the triplet, and somebody else plays the second beat of the triplet, and somebody else plays the third beat of the triplet. So we're all kind of playing cut time, but the
What?
song is still in 12/8. And because a big part of the music we produce is about the space in it. And if I'm playing 12/8 on bass, there's no space. There's just like a blur of long bass.
Right, very true.
Right. And it's like a quick song too. So we're trying to like rearrange it to
Yeah.
be one right after the other. And we're each playing off time with each other by a third of a note. And that's fun to get it together, you know. It's cool to see it happen and you're like, oh, that sounds so different, but at the same time is moving through the same spaces.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. Do you Okay, actually kind of different subject if that's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you feel like you have developed as a fan of the other songwriters in the band over the life of the band? Because everybody writes songs, and I know that you guys all came from different backgrounds and have all continued writing songs and bouncing ideas off of each other. So now you all have this idea of this, like whatever the lineage is of songwriting that each person comes from.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So how does that like changed
Well,
over
I
time?
I definitely have more appreciation as some of the stuff that I'm not that into, you know. When you hear one of your good friends do it even better in your mind than the people who they're copying or imitating or pastiching or however you want to put it, you're like, yeah, okay, maybe I could get into some of the songs in this genre that like as an example, I'm not super into like that 2002 indie music scene where every guy sounded really sad that his girlfriend just broke up with him and his brother just died. It's like country music from the 80s or something, you know?
That like
It's like,
Americana, like sad boy Americana
all
genre.
right. I'm just like it hurts me to listen to that in some sense, but I hear people write songs that were influenced by that and I can hear the influence and it's like it's cool, right? Like every genre has really good music in it, and that's one of the things I really believe in is like even the stuff I don't like has great songs, great writing somewhere, and it's about my ability to endure the lesser parts of the genre that prevents me from like hearing the highlights of it until 5 or 6 years later when it's no longer new stuff and now everybody knows that's what you should listen to about mumble rap or that's the indie music, you know, like Transatlanticism by Death Cab. Like I'm not really into Death Cab for Cutie. It's just too sound like it sounds too down for my taste and it's not simplified but it's like it's intending to directly convey an emotion and they work hard to get that together, but Transatlanticism is a really good album, you know, and like once you get that there is a point to it then you can kind of get over your own hubris and preconceptions and move into like the meat of the territory.
Okay, that's interesting. So I want to ask, is there a specific genre that each band member has kind of opened you up to? Like when you think about Emily, for instance, what's in your Sweet Irene playlist of stuff you never would have listened to before?
She's got this like harmonic ear. It's like even though it's not what she's like share the music she's sharing, it's like I hear gospel when I hear her sing, you know. It's like I'm thinking about these harmonies that are way different than the harmonies that the Grateful Dead would play or you know any of that old rock bullshit. It's like nobody plays that stuff, like nobody has the harmonies Emily puts into that stuff. So like Fleet Foxes or kind of that, and it's not specific like Amy also went through like indie 2000 like early 2000s music being a transformative part of her musical culture, so I get that from both of them of like, oh, we were young when this happened and it was really meaningful, and you get some of these really melancholy harmonies or tense harmonies that you wouldn't necessarily get, and gospel does this a little bit during the climaxes of the song. You'll hear somebody like really push a 7, a flat 7, or a four instead of a third, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, now we're like, we're expanding the realm around us of what's harmonically possible when you hear those notes. And so that's probably even more than I got from them than specifically a band or a song or whatever. There's always that stuff passing by that people turn you on to. But then the grander sense, like that sense of harmony being not bluegrass harmony and not rock and roll harmony. There's more to it than that.
And has that crept into your writing at all as you've gone along?
Probably. It's one of those things that's hard to see from the inside what your influences are doing to you. But, it's like I suggest ideas for songs, like maybe we should throw a bridge in here just to make it more impactful when we go back to where we were at, or maybe an extra verse there, and maybe it could have these words in it that kind of go with what's happening around. So in the writing for the band, definitely. In my personal writing, I don't know. It's like I let the muse just take me where she goes, and it happens once or twice a year, maybe three times if I'm lucky. Where I'm not, I don't struggle over it. It's like my safe space, and I'm not trying to work real hard at it. And maybe if I didn't have that three songs a year or two songs a year that come through that really just hit me no matter what, I would work at it harder. But that seems like a safe pace to continue at with where we're at.
That's a great pace.
Yeah. And it's like
I
all the songs I write, I love, and I play them for the rest of my life. That's a long time
mhm.
to play the songs.
Speaking of pace, I wanted to check in. You had sent me an image of a prospective rule sheet for this jam space. You operate a community jam space that's used by multiple bands. I mean, it serves probably something like 20 or 30 people if you added up everybody who uses it in a
Right.
given week. And you had the idea to put up like a list of guidelines. Could you talk about the process of that a little bit and what led you to want to do that?
Well, we've been playing music together for about, we're in our 11th or 12th year. We're right around the cusp of that, of where we started playing music together and opening that space and talking to other musicians and asking them to come out. And for the first 6 or 7, it was people who played music already. They were in bands. We were already friends. We would hang out and play music with each other, and it was really chaotic but very easy to work with because there was no rules, there was no anything, no guidance. Just do whatever feels good, and once a month it'll work out, once a month it'll be awful, and the other twice it'll be, whatever, mediocre. You had a good time hanging out with your friends. um but in the last little bit, we've had a lot of younger people we've invited have invited their friends and their friends and their friends, and now it's like, okay, well, there's six drum. It used to be a struggle to get a drummer to play music with us every Wednesday night. Now there's six drummers there. It used to be hard to get a bassist, and now there's three or four bassists there, and it's like, okay, well, some people are playing more than other people, and it's not like they're hogs or anything. It's just like, if you're not in the room when it switches and there's a 3-minute lag and people start playing again, those people outside kind of missed their opportunity because they were going pee or getting a beer or whatever, hanging out, talking to people, and the conversation was in a crux. And so it started to be where there's just inexperienced people playing music, and the experienced people are not as thirsty about it because they have other band practice. They have time every week where they play music by themselves. They have every time every week where they play music with other people. It's not as crucial for them to sit in with the jam. But at that point now, it's like, well, the quality of the music goes down because it's not experienced people helping new people learn the ropes. It's a bunch of new people flailing against each other and not really knowing what to do. And so chaos is part of it. It's supposed to be chaotic. We're supposed to be listening really hard to each other. And I want to preserve that, but at the same time, I don't want it to be awful. And I want other people that are great to want to play in it, so that, ideally there'd be two or three or four great musicians and one or two inexperienced musicians, and then those inexperienced musicians really get a chance to level up. you know they get a chance to learn what it's like to play music in an environment that's really fluid and really easy to get along in. It's an intentional space for sharing the stuff that's not wordy. It's just the music. um and we weren't achieving that anymore because of the quantity of people there and the thirst of some of those people versus other people. Again, like, some of us are playing 5 times a week, and some of us have one chance for 20 minutes to get in that room and play. And I need to respect both of those ends of the field, right? And so, first, and then the consideration of volume. There's sometimes 7 guitarists and 2 drummers and a keyboardist and a synthesizer and a bassist and another bassist on the couch and a hand percussionist and 4 vocalists, and you're like, okay, now no one can hear anything and everybody's screaming, and how do we make this be more fulfilling? And so the rule I've always thought of as the cardinal rule of jamming is you should be listening harder than you're playing. And I phrased that listening louder than you're
I
playing on
really
the
liked that.
list.
Exactly. Listening louder than you're playing. I think that is such good advice for playing music just in general.
Right. You've got to hear what other people are doing, or you're not playing with them, you're playing over them. And so, to me, that was a really nice subjective rule. There's no guy, nobody could tell you did it wrong, because how loud you're playing and how loud you're listening are internal. That's sort of like you've got to figure it out. Still, don't don't be on the wrong end of that spectrum.
Right, exactly. I wanted to ask, are you thinking of getting a like traditional analog clock so that it's easier to see when the 20-minute mark is? You could even
Okay.
write on the clock.
Little flags, yeah.
Yeah.
So the second rule for the listeners who didn't get that memo was, we're going to change every 20 minutes. Every 00, 20, and 40 on the hour, we're going to stop what we're doing, turn everything down, and walk outside and let somebody else play,
I love this.
because otherwise it's just too loud and too long. Somebody wants to play on D for an hour and a half, and I love D. D's my favorite key, except for all the other keys. D, let's do it. But an hour in, okay. And the volume goes up and up and up because people walk in and play. And so, what I did on this first version was set my clock against the wall of my phone, propped up. I have an app that I use when I'm gigging, of the big digital clock that's just like a giant digital clock on the front of it. And it was like, every time it stopped, I'd raise my guitar in the air and strum really loud. I'm like, okay, we're done. This is the end. And that's nice, to have an ending sometimes to some things that wasn't just, I totally puttered out of ideas and there was literally nothing else to do. So it worked out really well on Wednesday night. There was a lot of people who were appreciative that we were trying to push it away from chaos a little bit while still retaining a minimalist set of rules.
Was there anybody who was just not about the regulations at all?
Literally everyone in every single one of my bands was like, we can't have rules. That's not how this works. Like, Caitlin was like, I'm gonna break the rules, and Tristan was like, I'm gonna break the rules, and Amy was like, fuck your rules. You're like, okay, I get it, but what if it was more fun to play?
I
Because none
love
of them
that.
really come out every Wednesday night, because
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
that fun for people with a lot of experience. And I think it was weirdly liberating to have some restrictions. You're like, it's 20, it's time to quit. And somebody wanted to quit early, and you're like, oh, it's 3 more minutes, bro. You can make another 3 minutes. Let's just do a little one right here, and then it'll be done for real.
Oh yeah, that's good too. Cause yeah, sometimes if the jams are too short, that doesn't always work the best. because it's like the
Right.
energy never builds.
And so maybe it'll be 30 minutes eventually, or maybe it'll be 15 minutes, probably more towards the 30 end, just based on what we were doing. And one of the great feedbacks we got was like, well, what if there were different rules on different nights? Like there's two rules. You could have a third. Third rule might be no covers tonight. Third rule might be only covers tonight.
Oh, I like that wild card.
Yeah, like there's a wild card, and every Wednesday we're doing something different, of like, okay, so the first one was everybody who's there loves to play acoustic music, and we never get a chance to because there's no bonfires in Florida in the summer. That sucks. So we're gonna try to do like, hey, first Wednesday is acoustic Wednesday, no drum kits or amplifiers. Play all the one drums you want, but no amplifiers and no kits.
I'm definitely gonna come to one of those.
Right. And there's a bunch of people who don't come because there is no space for acoustic music. And it's like, well, let's just do it. One month every first Monday is acoustic. Maybe every last Monday is why no rules. Everybody freaks out and bashes their brain against the wall. I don't know.
No rules Monday.
But that's kind of the where we're at with it now. And I think it's gotta be better. It couldn't get worse.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and I'm glad that people are taking to it well, especially the people who need to take to it well. It sounds like are taking to it
Well,
well.
yeah, one person, left after the first 20 minutes because they didn't get to play all night, and that's okay. If that's what they wanted out of it, that's fine too.
Right.
Speaking of short jams, we have 3 minutes.
I know we're at the 3 minute mark. Well, we could actually maybe we can end it there.
Yeah, I mean, however you feel.
Yeah, I almost feel like that could, cause I can just like snip it right to this like little end here. I
Cool.
could. Oh, actually, you know what we could do? You should do sign off. I always have people do just deliver their positive message to the audience for the day. Something that's specific to today. So whatever time of year it is, let's see, it's summertime. Whatever you think people need to hear to like summertime it right.
Well, enjoy the cool part of the day after the rain and live music all the time. Keep playing.
Amen to that. That's a great one. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Russ.
Yeah, thanks, Wilson. It's
Yeah,
good to see you, brother.
absolutely. It's good to see you too. We'll do this
You want
again
to play
soon.
a little bit on your piano real quick, and
Oh my
we'll get
gosh.
one little one in.
Yes, we can. We definitely that would be perfect. We'll play ourselves out. Call a key.
C sharp major,
Wow. Okay.
B flat minor.
No. Let's do that. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Is the bass coming through? I think it should.
Keep playing. Yeah, play out, but that sounds good. Let me know if you're hearing me.